Hello, everybody. This is West Nale Virus. I am Nale. That is West. Today, we have a great show for you today. Josiah's going to rattle through what you missed over the weekend. He's got some stats for you, and then we're going to get into some topics. So, Josiah, what did we miss, and who performed well and bad over the weekend?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, in Major League Baseball, the Braves played the Orioles 2 times, and they won both times. Dodgers were 1-1 against the Mets. These are big because Dodgers are playing for the NL West. Braves are playing for the NL East. But the Braves' opponent in the NL East, the Phillies, was 2-0 versus the Padres. So it doesn't matter. And the Giants, the Dodgers' opponent, were 2-0 against the A's. So the Dodgers actually dropped a game.
Yeah, baby.
In the MLS, Atlanta United beat DC United, which put them tied in points in the Eastern Conference, which means Atlanta United has a chance to get into the playoffs. They're tied for the 7th spot right now. So I assume DC United, because they have it, I think they have more goals scored, but Atlanta United now has a chance.
There we go. It's the number 7 seed. That's the last spot that you can to get into playoffs.
Yes, it is. And guess who dropped out of the top 7? Portland Timbers. So they have dropped out of the top 7 for now. We shall see.
In the West.
In the NFL, I've got some stats for you here. This is going to be a little heavy. So here we go. Zach Wilson, 9 for 11, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great performance. Here's a QB battle for you. It's for backup, though. It's a backup quarterback battle. Trubisky went 20 for 28 for 221 yards, 1 touchdown, and was sacked once for 2 yards. So he did beautifully against his former team, the Bears.
Beautifully.
Which I think might have something to do with it. And also, Fromm went 3 for 7 for 20 yards and was sacked twice for 12 yards. So he didn't get near as many chances, but he didn't do very well. Luckily, he didn't throw any interceptions. I'm cheering for you, Fromm. I want you to know. Jake Kumaro, wide receiver for the Bills. If you remember him, he was on the Packers. Aaron Rodgers loved him. They dropped him. He had 2 receptions for 20 yards, and he was targeted 5 times. And I believe he also had a touchdown. He did pretty well. Sounds like both Josh Allen and everyone else on the Bills really like Kumaro. Here's another quarterback battle for you. Fields went 9 for 19, 80 yards. He was sacked twice for 5 yards, but he had 4 rushes for 46 yards. So he completed a little less than half of his passes, but he did okay other than that. Andy Dalton, went 11 for 17 for 146 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception.
There's a problem in Chicago.
There sure is. Now, Tua Tagovailoa down in Miami Dolphins had his first good showing of this preseason. Tua Tagovailoa, 16 for 23, 183 yards, 1 touchdown, and he was sacked once for 3 yards. Here is another quarterback battle, and this is not a backup quarterback battle because Carson Wentz is hurt. Jacob Eason went 16 for 27 for 132 yards. That's all stats. And Ellinger went 8 for 13 for 70 yards and threw 2 interceptions. Ooh. So it's not looking good for Ellinger.
Now, I will say this. It just came out. Yes. Like today, I saw Wentz is going to try and get back for week 1.
Okay.
So
well,
he
can do that. He could play for, 2 weeks until he gets hurt again. So we'll see. Maybe this isn't a week 1 quarterback battle. Yeah. Maybe it's more of a week 5 quarterback battle. Anyways, Richard LeCount III for the Cleveland Browns. He got his 2nd interception in the NFL preseason, of course, but he's played 2 games, got 2 interceptions, and that was my prediction for last week. Nice. I feel amazing. Here we have another quarterback battle. We got Mac Jones. He went 13 for 19 for 146 yards, full stop. And then Cam, 8 for 9, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. He was amazingly efficient.
Yes.
But they both look really good. So
there's a problem in New England.
Yes, there is, but not at the running back position. Ramondre Stevenson had 15 carries for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. He killed it.
They're all their running backs look like studs right now.
Yes, and
well,
they will continue because they're all going to play.
Yeah, but that's because their O-line is amazing.
Yes. Also, I don't know if it wasn't evident, but a little fantasy advice for everybody: whatever you do not draft or pick up a New England Patriots running back. Don't do it. It's a terrible idea. Now, over on the Eagles, I didn't even write their stats down, to be honest with you. It's Flacco and Mullins played, and they both looked terrible. Mullins did look a little bit worse, so we'll see.
And Hurts was sick.
And Hurts was not feeling too good, so he's probably got the starting spot after that performance.
Yep.
Elijah Holyfield, running back from Georgia, love him. Want him to get a chance. He had 4 carries for 31 yards and 2 receptions for 5 yards on 2 targets. So he did pretty good for what he was offered. Over on the what team is this? The Texans. Davis Mills, 10 for 16 for 115 yards, and Tyrod Taylor, 2 for 5 for 10 yards. So it sounds like they're wanting to start Tyrod.
Yeah, but watch out for the Tyrod Taylor curse.
I know. Davis Mills.
Here comes Davis Mills.
10 for 16, 115 yards, no interceptions, no sacks. He did okay. He did not do too bad. Now, you know who did do bad? Rookie out of Tampa Bay, also out of University of Florida, Kyle Trask, 13 for 26 for 131 yards and 2 interceptions. So he did not do very well. I hate Florida. Teddy Bridgewater over in Denver Bronco quarterback battle. Got Teddy Bridgewater. He went 9 for 11 for 105 yards and 1 touchdown. Great performance from Bridgewater. But then you move over to Drew Lock, and he did nah. He went 9 for 14 for 80 yards. He's done better. He's done worse.
And there could be a problem in Denver too.
There could be. There absolutely could be. Now,
we'll get to all these problems later.
Yes. Over on the 49ers, Trey Lance, the rookie, he went 8 for 14 for 102 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and was sacked twice for 8 yards. So he had a very full stat sheet, which isn't always a good thing. But it wasn't too bad. He didn't do too bad. More touchdowns than interceptions. That's the important part. And that is the end of my statistics for you today.
That was good. I like that. I think we should do that more often.
All right.
Let you run through them all. All right. Thank you, Josiah. For our topics for today, we got NFL QB battles, like we just said. We're going to touch on an MLB topic that we think is important. And then one overall general statement that we will get into that we think is probably the most important about sports.
Yes.
We're try to keep it not political.
Yes.
We will keep it non-political.
Yes.
All right, but first, let's get to the MLB because I think the NFL is going to take a little bit and I want to save that. But in the MLB, it's been a lot of fun to watch. I usually don't get into the MLB until October, and I think the World Series. I think you're the same way, Josiah. But we caught on a little bit earlier this year because of this show.
Yep.
And I have had an absolute blast watching baseball currently because of the playoff races, the divisional races, the wild card races. Oh, yeah. It's been a lot of fun. Now, I think everyone in the baseball world should stop asking questions about the San Francisco Giants. I thought they should have stopped asking questions when they hit 50 wins. Now they have hit 80 wins. They're the first team to hit 80 wins. I think they'll be the first team to hit 100 wins. I may have just jinxed that.
Probably did.
But the doubters and the haters on the San Francisco Giants need to stop now. Stop now.
There you go.
They are 34 and 25. Really well. Yes. They are 34 and 25 versus teams over 500. So a lot of my Dodger friends, they say, well, they haven't played anyone, which is ironic because they're in the same division as the Dodgers. But but they say they haven't played anyone good. Well, I did some digging. They are 34-25 versus teams over 500. Okay. That's not the greatest record, but it's a winning record.
It is a winning record, and that is important against teams over 500.
Yeah, because those are the teams that are going to make the playoffs. And here's what I like, though. So I went in and looked at the individual stat leaders, right? So pitching stats, hitting stats, just pitching and hitting. Excuse me. Okay. The Giants do not have a leading player in any of the major stat categories. None. Not one. Wow. So what does that tell you, Josiah?
Tells me they got a solid team.
Yes, it's a full team effort. And people said, oh, the Giants are washed up and old. Buster Posey, Brandon Belt, they're old. Well, yes, they're old, but they are playing well. They can still play the game. They have experience, and they bring wisdom, knowledge, and leadership to the young guns and the young athletes. And I forgot to mention Brandon Crawford, but they bring all that to the table. Yes, Josiah.
Well, I was going to say, I much prefer a team that can win just with their entire team rather than just with one player, because if you take a team that's going to they can only win if they've got this one player, it's very easy for that player has an off day, they lose. Gets hurt, they lose. Gets sick, they lose. If that player, anything happens to that player, they lose. So if you got a full team effort, one of your guys goes down, who cares? Just replace them. Mm-hmm. Everybody's doing well. Everybody's working their hardest. Everybody's doing okay at least.
Okay. We are just okay.
We are just okay, but we're all just okay.
Yeah. We are good enough people. Josiah and I, is for everyone out there that don't know, we are good enough. You know, you put up enough. It's not, we don't get the leveler so that it's perfect. I mean, we get the leveler out, but if it's not perfect, it's just good enough. That's perfect to us.
Good enough. Good enough.
But I think this is a good argument for the people that say baseball is not a team sport. And I hear this a lot. Baseball is not really a team sport because you have the pitcher doing his own thing. If the pitcher struggles and they hit only home runs, then it's the pitcher's fault, right? No, wrong. This is very much a team sport. Go look at the Los Angeles Angels. Los Angeles Angels have Mike Trout, who's considered probably the best player in the league, and Shohei Ohtani, who is probably the best player in the league.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, if that pitcher is just throwing home runs over and over and over and over, it's not his bad that they're not taking him out. I mean, please, it might be his fault that you're losing right now, but it's your fault you're not taking him out.
So there's an aspect that the coach needs to step up. The coach
matters too. The coach matters, and the players matter, and all the players matter, because if the first baseman misses his assignment, then he gets, they score or whatever. Yeah,
right.
It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah. So stop doubting the Giants. They're here to stay. You'll see them in the playoffs, probably with the 1 seed. Who saw that coming? Let's go.
Everyone.
Quick mention, since we're talking about the MLB, Miguel Cabrera did hit his 500th home run. Congratulations, Miggy.
Congratulations to him.
Big feat. I couldn't hit a single home run. So most people couldn't. All right, let's get into the NFL.
I don't think I could hit a ball.
Bunt, just bunt. The NFL, number 1 sport in the United States of America, number 1 in our hearts. Well, college football, but NFL's next. We have a lot of QB battles to talk about, Josiah.
Yes, we do.
And we're going to talk about how they can affect each team and what we think is going to happen. Let's start it off with the New England Patriots. I think we can wrap up the starting jobs for the most part once you hit week 3. I think you need to, as a coach, you need to wrap up and decide who your starter is going to be by preseason week 3. If not, your team's in trouble.
So we're saying right now, today, like they need to be decided.
Right.
Is what we're saying.
I'm saying by the time they play the game, right? Maybe take this week and there should be a better decision. And by preseason week 3, that game, you should have a starter.
And
because they need to be playing with the ones.
And I think the way you know which of those starters is whoever either doesn't play at all or throws like 3 attempts. That's who your starter is.
Okay. For the Patriots, they have a problem here because throughout this preseason, Mac Jones has made it very clear that he's here to stay and he can play in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, things change in the regular season because they start watching film and planning for you. So it gets a little tougher.
Right.
However, their O-line is so good. I think they make his job very easy. And they make Cam Newton better. So who do you take, Josiah? I want to know, who are you starting? Are you starting the young gun behind an amazing offensive line who I think brings maybe not more knowledge, but he just feels more. Yeah, he feels more Tom Brady-esque.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's probably because we've seen Cam Newton play. He's not Tom Brady. I mean, the guy, when the Carolina Panthers drafted him, they simplified their entire scheme to fit him. They made it so that he only had to make one read. Every play, he only had to make one read. And then if he doesn't pass it there, he passes it there. And that's how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And so Cam Newton, and I think he's gotten better too. He has, and he's doing really well. I think, though, what Belichick is going to do, because knowing Belichick, which I don't, I think he's going to start. Honestly, I don't know who's going to get the initial start, but I think he's going to play both of them. I think he's going to play both of them depending on whoever's doing well. I think he's going to say, all right, Cam, go in. And then, all right, maybe Cam doesn't do super well. He goes 3 and out. All right, Matt,
so you don't think there is a clear starter?
I don't think there is a clear starter because Belichick is all about having a solid team. I mean, he is. He always has solid but not stellar receivers. He always has solid but not stellar running backs. He always has a stellar offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of very important in football. And I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, it's just how it is. His defense is always good. He always gets. But the thing is about Belichick, you send those guys that are doing super well with him. Do you remember LeGarrette Blount? He killed it with the Patriots. Next year, he went to, I think it was the Eagles, didn't do anything. He couldn't play at all. Like, the Patriots just make people look good.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole team works together really well. So I think he's going to do that same thing with the quarterbacks. And I think he's going to keep that.
I could see that happening.
Going.
I could see them
give him a reason to work.
Yeah, I could actually see them putting together a red zone package for Cam when they get there and things like that. I think Cam brings a little bit. I think he's healthier than he was last year. He has more time with Belichick and the playbook and the offensive coordinator. I think they start Cam, but my question is the main question I have is, when does Mac Jones come in to start? Because he eventually is going to. And he brings pocket presence, a good arm. He's a young arm, young shoulder that Cam doesn't have, but he doesn't have the running ability that Cam has. So Cam, brings a different dynamic. So I think he starts Cam, but there is going to be this question when the Patriots lose. And I do think the Patriots, by the way, are a wild card team. But that's for another episode when we do our NFL season predictions. I do think they are a wild card team. So if Cam gets them there, does Cam stay and Mac Jones sits another year? Or when Cam loses 1 or 2 games and 3 games and looks really bad, do they put Mac Jones in? Those are the questions I have for the Patriots and that QB battle there.
Okay, first of all, I just realized that Cam is Mac backwards and vice versa. But second of all, I think Mac Jones, he either takes over about halfway through the season or into this season. If Cam Newton plays this entire season, Next season, Mac Jones plays.
Okay.
That's just the way I see it. I mean, look at what they did with Brady. As you said, Mac Jones, he's bringing more of that Brady presence than Cam is, just in general.
Mhm.
Maybe we're wrong, Yeah, a lot of people are a lot of times, but
Well, that's the thing about a sports show. Most of the time you're wrong, but when you get it right, you better celebrate it.
yeah. And advertise, be like, oh, guys, look at my pick.
Yep.
I'm so good.
99 out of 100 times we're wrong. With that one time we're right, you better believe you're going to hear about it. All right, next team. The Cowboys, interestingly enough, may not have Dak Prescott again because of his shoulder injury. His shoulder injury is, if you've been keeping up with Hard Knocks, if you've been keeping up with the mainstream media, the sports mainstream media, it's not a good injury to have. I mean, no injury is good to have, but this injury is like the baseball players, and they struggle a long time with this shoulder injury. So the QB battle is for the backup position, which could be the starting position. So we have Garrett Gilbert, we have Cooper Rush, and we have Ben DiNucci. So we saw a little bit of Cooper Rush and Ben DiNucci last year. Ben DiNucci is struggling in the preseason right now.
Yes. 14 for 1,920 yards, 3 interceptions, 2 sacks for 18 yards.
Yeah. So Garrett Gilbert, actually, I believe he's a rookie. Yes. No.
I'm not sure.
No.
Cooper Rush is the one who looked
out.
the best. Garrett Gilbert is not a rookie, but
No.
Cooper Rush is the one who looked the best on their team. This past game, he went 10 for 12, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 sacks for 11 yards. Garrett Gilbert went 3 for 5 for 30 yards and 1 sack for 5 yards. So it's, it is what it is, but Cooper Rush looked the best out of them. Ben DiNucci looked the worst.
Yeah, he's
We'll
probably going to get cut. Sad to say. Garrett Gilbert, I think he played for Texas school, Texas, SMU, something like that. But yeah, I think it's Garrett Gilbert or Cooper Rush that will end up getting the backup job that could eventually lead to the starting job because Dak Prescott cannot play.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting to see with America's team because they didn't have him last year.
Well,
and they're too reliant on Dak Prescott. That is the main point that I want to get to, is that the Cowboys have become too reliant on Dak Prescott. They need to find another way, whether they need to find someone else that can step in.
And I think I know just who they should grab.
Let us know, Josiah. Who is it?
Gardner Minshew.
That's
Dallas Cowboys need to trade for Gardner Minshew.
I think they either need to get, and we're going to get to the Jaguars later, but I think they should go to the Steelers. I don't think that the Jaguars will let Gardner Minshew go. I think that the Cowboys should go to the Steelers and grab their third string, because their third string is either going to be Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins. And Dwayne Haskins he's not looking bad right now.
Right.
So if they grab, maybe they go for Mason Rudolph. I'd be more comfortable going for Mason Rudolph than Dwayne Haskins.
You could even go for Joshua Dobbs.
No.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the Cowboys have a problem with their quarterbacks, and they need to find someone that, and maybe that be the Patriots. Go grab Hoyer, because they have Mac Jones and Cam Newton. Go grab Hoyer.
I wouldn't want Hoyer as my starting quarterback.
I would rather have him than the guys they have there.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, they're not in a good situation if Dak can't come back, and that's the bottom line. They need to get a backup guy they can really trust. Maybe they think they can trust Gilbert or Rush or, for heaven's sakes, DiNucci, but I doubt it. But moving on.
The only thing going for them is that they have a ton of weapons. They have a ton of weapons.
They do have a ton of weapons.
But they got to get them the ball. And the quarterback does that. All right, next, the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears drafted Justin Fields, and then they signed Andy Dalton.
Yes.
And both have looked good. The coaches have come out and said Andy Dalton is the starter. What do you take of that? What do you make of that?
I think Andy Dalton's the starter week 1. I think he's a starter week 1. I think he starts until they feel Justin Fields has gotten enough practice in, learned the playbook enough, whatever it is. Maybe they feel like their offensive line isn't what it needs to be, and they're scared to get him hurt. They're not so scared about getting Andy Dalton hurt. I don't know what it is, but I think they start Andy Dalton, let Justin Fields learn a little bit. I mean, maybe they're trying to take from the Patrick Mahomes,
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith playbook. Yeah.
Andy Dalton's not proven though.
Year. No, he's not quite Alex Smith. But Justin Fields, Andy Dalton, Nick Foles. I mean, Justin Fields can learn a lot from Dalton and Foles. I mean, that's a pretty good room to learn from. So
there's another third string quarterback that the Cowboys can go get.
Yep.
But then they're paying money to Nick Foles and Andy Dalton. And then they went and drafted Justin Fields. I think the Bears and Matt Nagy especially are in a lose-lose situation because they drafted Justin Fields. Yes, they should have drafted Justin Fields. I mean, Justin Fields should have went earlier in the draft, to be honest.
Right.
But because they drafted Justin Fields, okay, and he's performing so well, now the questions start coming up. Okay, do we start him week 1? And I think they should start Fields week 1 so that Nagy, this is for Nagy and ownership, so they have a losing excuse. If they start Andy Dalton and he loses the first four or 5 games, the fans want Justin Fields. Okay. They put him in. Justin Fields. I was looking at the schedule. The Bears' schedule is not nice. It's not nice at all.
Justin Fields starts off okay. But
right. So if Andy Dalton loses those games, you have to take him out. You got to put Justin Fields in.
Yeah.
And then it gets tougher after that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It start off week 1 with the Rams, which is, that probably won't be a super easy game. The Bengals, which, if they've got a good defensive line, they should destroy them. The Browns
compete. They'll compete. Okay.
Lions
compete.
They should destroy them. I feel like
4.
Raiders,
Okay, 5.
Then the Packers, and I feel like that's where it starts to get hard.
Yes.
Packers are a pretty hard team. Then the Bucks.
Yes.
Then the 49ers.
Yes.
Then the Steelers.
There it is.
The Ravens.
That's exactly what I was looking at. Okay, so first 5 games. Let's say first 5 games, Andy Dalton goes out. He goes, I see maybe 2 games they can win at the worst, right? Bengals.
Right. Bengals, Lions or Raiders, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know how the
Okay, so they go 2 and 3. I think they're calling for Fields, right? If he loses either of those games, they're definitely calling for Fields. Fields, now he gets Buccaneers, 49ers, Green Bay Packers. Now Fields, look, he's not going to win a game.
There's no way. They don't have the situation right now for him. Honestly, it makes sense to sit him if you're saying, hey, we're not going to win this year. We know that. We want him to get a year of experience, and we're going to hit it hard next year. We're going to draft as many, supporting players as we can. We're going to get great offense.
I don't think the Bears have that time. I don't think Nagy and the Bears have that time. They already, I think if they go losing season, the Chicago fan base, they're done with Matt Nagy. He had Trubisky, nothing. Trubisky's gone. So now we have Fields. We want Fields. Doesn't start Fields. They suck. Like if Fields sits the whole time and they don't make the playoffs, he's done. If he doesn't start Fields, he brings him in halfway. Fields isn't going to win a game. He's still gone. If he starts Fields, this is the only way I think he gets out of it. If he starts Fields and Fields wins 4 or 5 games or goes 500, I think he's okay. Because that's his excuse. Rookie quarterback, it out. I think that's the only way that.
I mean, hey, it's possible. And they've been playing Andy Dalton in the preseason games. If they play him in this last one, maybe he gets hurt. Maybe they don't have a choice.
All
But
right.
yeah,
Colts.
Colts.
Like we said
decent.
earlier, Carson Wentz is projected to come back, or he says he wants to come back week 1. If he doesn't come back, Jacob Eason is, after this last game, is clearly going to be the starter. Sam Ellinger, I don't think has proved it. They have Brett Hundley, but no, sorry, bud. So we have Jacob Eason. All right, Jaguars. I think this is another poor management deal. But they were put in a hard place.
Not super
Here's
hyped
why.
on Urban Meyer.
Well, first of all, they draft Trevor Lawrence. I think you have to draft Trevor Lawrence, though. That's the problem.
Oh, absolutely. You do. The only way you cannot draft Trevor Lawrence if you are the Jaguars and your fan base doesn't murder you is, trade back, get like 2 first-round picks, make 2 great picks, like trade back to the 10th spot, and then you also get the 23rd spot or whatever,
right?
Just random spots, and then take Justin Fields and some great defensive player.
Well, here's the thing. Gardner Minshew, in my opinion, in your opinion, Josiah, and I'm sure in many others' opinions, is not that bad.
Yeah, really not.
And here's the other problem. He's young. He's young.
He is.
So
he's very young.
If Trevor Lawrence struggles, because I think Trevor Lawrence obviously gets the starting job because he was the number 1 pick, but Urban Meyer has come out and said that no, they haven't decided who they've given the job to yet, which is scary in itself that Trevor Lawrence hasn't ran away with it.
Right.
But that doesn't surprise me because I think Gardner Minshew's good. So if Trevor Lawrence starts and he's bad, which he's going to be because the Jaguars are just a bad team, Gardner Minshew comes in and he does okay because he's experienced. He's played on this team before. He's played behind a terrible O-line. You have a big problem. So I think it's poor management. And then you spent your second pick on Travis Etienne, a running back, when you had James Robinson, who was an undrafted rookie. He was a stud. Now you got to go pay a running back with Travis Etienne. I don't think that's smart anyways, but we're sticking to QB battles. Sorry.
Yes. Tonight, it's Monday, the 23rd August. Tonight, the Jaguars are playing against the Saints. And tonight is going to be a big game to watch if you're a Jaguars fan because
and a Saints fan.
But for the Jaguars, tonight will probably decide your starting quarterback. Urban Meyer said, I do have a timeline in my own mind, but once again, it's a conversation that the 3 people are having daily. Meyer said, in theory, it could go through the final preseason game on August 29th, but I'd rather not.
Nope. Like we said earlier in the episode, you got to have it before the 3rd preseason game or the last preseason game because some play 4.
He does not want to be sitting there. So, but he has not decided yet. They've only played 1 game, and this game could be the deciding factor. Now, if they both go out there and Minshew and him and Trevor Lawrence look terrible, or both look really good, there's no deciding vote then at that point. So now you're sitting on, let's wait until the final preseason game. And then if they, once again, both look good, then Meyer's got a problem on his hands. But, he starts one, he does bad, he puts in the other. We'll just have to see. But
I'll say to all the NFL teams that watch our show and listen to us.
Yeah.
If you have a young QB, if you have a young QB and you have questions about him, and you want to draft another QB, get rid of your original young QB to draft one. So then you don't have this problem.
Well,
they should have gotten rid of Minshew and picked up Foles.
I don't mind this. I don't mind this from from a team's perspective, because now you've got 2 young guys who are competing tooth and nail. They're fighting for that starting spot. They want that starting spot for many reasons, but one of them, money. First of all, you're going to earn way more money as a starter than as a backup.
Yeah.
Backup quarterback job in the NFL.
Really good job.
Honestly, one of the best jobs in the entire world.
But here's the thing, Josiah. You can't spend a 1-1, the first draft pick, number 1 draft pick on a QB and then have this problem. That's the hard part.
It is hard, but I still understand it because, I mean, once again, he is a rookie. They're young. They could take a year to get going. Maybe they don't even look good on your team. Tom Brady was like a sixth round pick, I think, and he didn't even look good enough to start. And now he has won 6 Super Bowls and, could win another one for all we know.
Yeah, but he was a 6th round draft pick.
Yes, he was. And I will say there have been a lot of first round busts, and it's a worrying thing. But I think it's just something that you have to know is like, hey, just because I spent a first round, a number 1 draft pick on this guy, he might not be that good. So I think it's not a bad idea to hedge your bets and keep that younger guy.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. And I know it's all about wins. And so you're going to play who gives you the best chance to win. But
absolutely.
But what I'm saying is that it was poor management for it to be working out this way. I think that equals poor management in Jacksonville. Just because most of the fans knew, a lot of sports commentators know Gardner Minshew's not bad. He's got skills. We saw it on a bad team. Now you go out and you draft Trevor Lawrence. Now you have a problem because if Trevor Lawrence doesn't perform, you just spent the number 1 pick in the draft. Blah, blah, blah. I'm repeating myself. So
right.
It's not bad. It's a good problem to have that you have 2 young quarterbacks that are competing for the same job. But I also think it could equal a bad problem, which equals poor management. It's going to be a lot of fun. Watch the game tonight, everybody. We'll see what happens.
All right. I think we have one more quarterback battle. 2.
We got 4.
4 more. All right. Let's get through these quick.
Saints. So the Saints.
That's a big one.
Are also playing tonight. We talked about them. We have Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. I think this is an easy one. If I'm coach, Jameis Winston has looked the better quarterback. You start him. And I don't even know why they have tried to move Taysom Hill to quarterback. They need to keep Sean Payton needs to keep his role exactly the same as it has always been.
Well, because Taysom Hill said, hey, I want to be the starting quarterback. And if I'm not, I'm going to a new team.
Well, then that would make sense.
He said that. So he wants to give him a chance. I think what he's hoping is that either, Taysom Hill becomes the runaway favorite and, he's really good, which he's not been, or Hill realizes, hey, I haven't done that well. I understand why I'm not starting, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that's the situation they're in. But I think it's a pretty cut and dry situation. I mean, I hate to lose Taysom Hill, but I also, what I hate more? Losing games. And you're going to lose games if you start Taysom Hill at quarterback. You got to start Jameis Winston. I think so too.
That's it. Denver Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. You start us off with this one, Josiah.
Oh, Denver Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock. They both look pretty good. Teddy Bridgewater was on the, I want to say, Panthers last season. And he did not very well. So you're dealing with a situation here where you've got Drew Lock, who has not done well for you. And then you have Teddy Bridgewater, who has not done well for other people. And now they're both doing well. So
in the preseason,
obviously not, but I mean, it's hard to separate them right now. In the first game, Drew Lock went 5 for 7 for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 5 passes. He threw 5 passes, scored 2 touchdowns, and at 151 yards. Teddy Bridgewater went 7 for 8 for 74 yards and 1 touchdown, which is also good. I mean, you're not going to have that crazy performance every time. And then this week, Teddy Bridgewater went 9 for 11 for 105 yards and 1 touchdown. And then Drew Lock went 9 for 14 for 80 yards. But then he was sacked twice for 200 yards. What? No, for 15 yards.
for negative 200 yards. Holy cow.
Yep. He was on the 1 yard line and then he ran back to the other one and was sacked. No. Twice. Yeah. No. I think it's really close. Honestly, I probably start if I'm there, coach, I think I start Drew Lock because he's been there. He knows, everything. He knows what's going on. Give him another chance. If he does well, great. He's got Teddy Bridgewater right behind him. He's got a fire under his butt. He's
Right.
got to be playing well. He knows this. So,
Right.
if he doesn't do well, he's not going to do well. Get him out of there. Start Teddy. Move on. But,
I think Drew Lock stretches the field more. He's more of like high risk, high reward kind of player, and he's younger.
yes.
So we have that. We've been talking about these young quarterbacks, but I think Teddy Bridgewater is the safe start.
Right.
So Teddy Bridgewater he throws a mean slant pass and an out route. And I think Jerry Jeudy is going to thrive off of Teddy Bridgewater. But I think Cortland Sutton is going to thrive off of Drew Lock. So you're getting two different things. And I think Drew Lock is the better athlete. I think. And he's less prone to injury. I think. But they've both been injured. So I would start Teddy Bridgewater. I would start experience over high risk, high reward. I'm usually a high risk guy, but for some reason, I just think I can get more wins with Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah. And as I said, I start Drew Lock because he's been there. I think
right.
Just give him one more chance. But
all right, San Francisco 49ers. I don't think it's a QB battle. I think Jimmy G is starting, but the question is, when does Trey Lance start?
Okay, if Jimmy G gets injured again, Trey Lance directly in, obviously. Which, as I've mentioned before, I don't trust Jimmy G's, injury rating. His Madden injury rating should be pretty low in my books. But with that being said, when barring an injury, when does he start? If they don't win, a lot this year, next year. I think if Jimmy G doesn't prove that he can be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, if they don't make it either to like the championship or
Let's say NFC championship,
if they don't make it to the NFC championship,
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. Genuinely, I think that is the standard we're sitting at right now.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Unless Jimmy G gets injured, that Jimmy G starts the entire season and we see what happens.
Yeah.
If it's a bad season, see ya.
Yep.
Here comes Trey. I don't know if Trey Lance is ready to start after watching his last game, but
Jimmy G didn't look very good either.
No, but he is looking better than Trey Lance. So I think you start Jimmy G throughout the entire season and then make your decision. I don't think he starts until next year. Last team, not there. There is no QB battle, but I just want to throw this out there. The Buffalo Bills, obviously Josh Allen is a starter. There's no QB battle, but right. Mitchell Trubisky looks legit. He has come out and said that football is fun again. He feels like he's supposed to be there. He is relearning the game of football. Mitchell Trubisky.
Well, he needed to.
He's going to be a starter for a different team next year. He will be a starter for another team next year.
Well, I would, hedge my bets on that one a little bit. I mean, you've got to remember last week he only threw 2 passes. So we've only seen 1 week of him lighten the team up, and it was his former team, which I really do think could have something to do with it. He's playing against Matt Nagy and the Bears. Mm-hmm. So, but he did look amazing. So if he can keep that up, I wouldn't be surprised to see him starting for, the whoever.
And I didn't know I was going to feel this way, but after the game, I became a Mitch Trubisky fan. I am now a Trubisky fan. I am more of a Josh Allen fan, so I'm not cheering for him to take Josh Allen's spot, but I'm cheering for Trubisky to pull this. Oh, who did it last time? Teddy Bridgewater, who goes and sits behind Drew Brees for a year. got injured. Drew Brees got injured. Then Teddy Bridgewater played for the Saints and things like that. And then Jameis Winston, and now Mitchell Trubisky.
Teddy Bridgewater hasn't done super well with the chances he's got. So hopefully Mitch can do a little better. But I hate to see Jake Fromm taking the back burner because I really want to see him play in a regular season game. So I am cheering against Mitchell Trubisky. Sorry, nothing personal. I'm just really hoping I can get to see Fromm play a little bit. And I know that wouldn't happen anyway because of Josh Allen, but, you know, were he to go down or something, I'd like Fromm to get a chance. But obviously right now, Mitchell Trubisky is the runaway favorite. So that's where we're at with that. I don't believe there's any other quarterback battles.
No, that is it. Last topic of the day, and Josiah and I think this is really important. A lot of teams out there and a lot of states are now putting into effect that that fans, let me get this right. Some teams are putting into effect that fans are going to now have to be vaccinated to get into the stadium.
Specifically with the COVID-19 vaccination,
yes,
you can't walk up and say, yes, I was vaccinated for polio. You should let me in.
They want a COVID-19 vaccine card.
Yes. So,
and we think that is a huge mistake. You should not do that.
Well, yes, because your team isn't going to win as much.
Right.
And this is our case. First of all, I've got a one stat for you, and then Caleb's got a few more. First of all, since 2010, there have been 1,633 home wins and 1,257 away wins. That is 56.5% of the time people win at home.
Since 2010.
Last year, since 2010. Last year, in 2020, 134 home wins, 132 away wins. That is a 50.4. That is a drop of 6.1% home winning percentage. Big drop.
Crazy.
Big drop.
Crazy. And some people may be saying, well, they're still letting people in, so they may still fill the stadium. Let me say this. They will not fill the stadium. You won't.
They won't. I mean, just factually, I would say more football fans are conservative than liberal.
Yes.
More conservatives are not going to be vaccinated. Therefore, more football fans are not going to be vaccinated. So,
right. And this,
you can draw your own conclusions from that. But
right, this is a sports show. We are not telling you that you should get vaccinated or you should not get vaccinated. We are just saying that if you limit people and you force them to show a card, you're going to get less people. One,
it's a bad business decision. Yeah.
One, the NFL, if we're talking NFL, you're conservative. Plus, I've gone through it for travel reasons. It is a hassle to get COVID tested, to get a paper, to submit it. Then you have to go and check in and double check and double test and blah, 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 blah. It's a headache. I do it once. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to do it again.
There's a lot.
So Josiah put some stats down and he wrote down in 2020, what was it? 50% of
50.4% of the time games were won at home. And 49.6% of the time they were won away.
Here's an interesting stat when it comes to soccer, because it's not only going to affect the NFL. This is going to affect all sports if cities and teams start implementing this. So in the Bundesliga, which is the German soccer league, the winning percentage for the home team actually dropped by 10% last year. 10%. And we've been talking about winning percentages and losing, and home versus away. But here's what happened with how it affected on-field play. Okay. Goals dropped from 1.7 goals per game to 1.4 goals per game. And you have to think, you're like, what? It wasn't even one whole number, but it's soccer. You're not scoring a lot of goals. in a soccer game in the first place. So 1.7 to 1.4. There were 10% less shots taken in general
by the home team. Yeah.
Now, and I would definitely chalk that up to the crowd screaming at, like the crowd elevates when the ball gets closer and closer to the goal. So I'm going to shoot it. Right.
Right.
The probability, they actually found the probability of shots becoming a goal. They actually dropped by over 1%.
Yeah.
And the shots saved at home also dropped. We don't have a number on that, but the shots saved at home dropped.
Yeah.
Right. So you have your fans cheering behind you. You have a little bit more fire underneath you to save the ball. Okay. Now, how did it affect fouls? Well, fouls, the home team was actually penalized more. And you can see how that would.
The referees aren't swayed by the fans.
Right. Fouls in general actually increased. So fouls increased overall, and then that affected the fouls called on the home team. So there were more. That also is the same with yellow cards. There were more yellow cards that year than before.
Yep.
So not only does having fans affect your win percentage, but it affects how you play, which should be common sense because it's affecting your win percentage. So I would be interested to see how in football, in the football league, American football, NFL, college football, how it is affecting like completion, false starts, offsides, completion percentages, snap counts, like if we're getting the ball, if we're going fast or not.
Well, sometimes you can see easy things like when there's a ton of fans in, like, say, the Seahawks stadium or a college stadium. Sometimes the opposing quarterback can't even hear to get the snap off, so they have to take a timeout.
Right.
That's a big thing. Like a timeout is very important.
Right.
And sometimes his team can't even hear him.
Timeouts called would be interesting. Did they use their timeouts?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they didn't use as many timeouts last year. So all in all, after all of these things, with winning percentage, home versus away, with in soccer, how it affects you, how you play, please do not mandate vaccine passports, vaccine cards in stadiums.
You can do it, but
right.
if you want to win, you shouldn't.
Yes. If you do it, your team is not going to win
at home.
Your team is not going to win at home. They're not going to perform well. And the teams that do will perform better.
Yeah. And that is, that's just the fact of the matter. So there you go. No politics. We're just saying that's it.
I thought it was very interesting. Interesting.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Seeing how much fans can affect a game is very interesting. But yeah, everybody, that kind of wraps up our episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on Anchor, listen to us, I should say, on Anchor, Spotify, a bunch of different places, links on Anchor. And follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and let us know something.
We didn't come up with a comment, but you gotta like the video, then you gotta hit the bell, and then you gotta subscribe. Well, actually subscribe first. Yeah, and then the bell. Yeah.
And then you can comment
and then
you think who should start in the NFL
for the Bears. Who should start for the Bears?
Yep.
Nick Foles, Andy Dalton, or Justin Fields? The Bears. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you manana.
See ya.